It's a defect on the camera, but okay. It's good to see everyone. Hopefully, everyone is doing great and having a great day. I tried to do a horizontal stream because what I said kind of like it seems like you're with the vertical streams. It doesn't let you go. Um, it doesn't let you go to like the viewer has to stay on the stream the whole time. The screen can't be off. Which is kind of quite annoying. But anyways, that's all right. Hi Dushan, how are you? Hope you're doing well. All right. It's kind of impromptu discussion about fragrance sales that I wanted to talk about. I'll just wait for a few minutes. I'm wearing Scent of the Day Bellamy Vetiver by Hermes. Awesome. Today I'm wearing this little decant that I made for myself of Musk Pallida by Hermes. I can't get enough of this one. It's so good. So good. Beautiful day here. Oh, yeah, it's been kind of cold, like since yesterday. We were out with the kids. I was there playing soccer in the afternoon, after school actually, and it was quite cold actually. So my hands were freezing, but we'll see. I think it's gonna warm up here by the weekend. All right. Enjoying my camera macchiato. This Musk Pallida, I love that I made it in this kind of decant, so I can just throw it in my purse and use it like when I want, because most likely it will be something that I will need to refresh over time. How is the musk note on Musk Pallida? It's beautiful. It's elegantly done. It's not too much. It doesn't smell like a if you some laundries, some musks smell like you left the laundry in the machine for more than a day, right? And that's kind of in the washing machine, and then you get to it, and it has like that kind of old smell, but it's not like that at all, and it's not animalic like when they use some animalic musks. I get I don't enjoy that. So it's very soft musk, which sometimes it makes me think, is this galaxolide that they use in this one? I don't know what kind of musk they use, but it might be that. So there's aldehydes, iris, and musk. It's quite an easy kind of reach fragrance, Musk Pallida. I mean, I can't see how this could be offensive for anyone. And anywho, I enjoy it pretty much. Stefan Clancy, how old are you? I'm old enough. How old are you? Oh God, I had a hairspray the kids had used. I gave a little bit of a hairspray for the kids, like they like the pink hairspray, and I seems to have like sprayed my arm as well, so that's some in there. Hi Rupinder. Okay, so I wanted to quickly touch base on, and I welcome the some of the opinions here, and this kind of sparked from a conversation I had just like I saw a message and responded on Discord, on Mitch's Discord. Rose Shalimar. No, and I'm not hearing good things about it. I'm just gonna hold off until I try a decant. I'm just hearing that's kind of Delina-esque Shalimar Rose, and I'm not gonna, I don't think I'm gonna rush to get a bottle. I'm not a rose fan to begin with, especially that kind of rose. So, and I'm not about completing the like collection or something like that. So I don't really care if it's gonna be like that. I think like ingredients of the Gardenlands, and that's kind of come to the end. Hi, Pearly. So just giving a little bit of a kind of background about me and where I started with the fragrance buying. I think mine was like really, I got into buying niche fragrances and kind of actually knowing about big niche fragrances in 2020. Hi, Moose. And mostly was like that was after pandemic. I also I I had my little one. I'm gonna be quite cautious, like not give away too much detail, but I had my little one like maybe, yeah, so very close, like in the beginning of the pandemic. And I am not the one who enjoys when some women are like that, FYI, for men that will criticize me later, but I need to use my brain on a daily basis, and I am. I get bored easily. Sorry. So in the beginning of the pandemic, being on maternity leave, and there was no one else that was on maternity leave with me. Plus, we couldn't see people. Like there was like a lot of like restrictions and things like that. I literally remember like one day I was like, oh my god, I love fragrance. I was like, can I? What kind of hobbies I can look into or whatever? And I was like, well, I may have put on something. Oh, I think I had a Johnson and Johnson baby perfume that I really liked because at the time, and I was like, okay, let me just put on that. But then I distinctly remember, I was like, I'm sure there are some fragrance groups like on Facebook, or buying fragrances, or like I don't know, just discovering more because we didn't back at the time. We were actually in a better position back then because we had the Bay, which was kind of like the Macy's of Canada. um since then it has gone away as well, but we didn't have really like a lot of like luxury department stores or anything like that here that I would know even about. I didn't even know niche fragrances were a thing. Anywho, so I started in the fragrance groups, and there, like, obviously I know I saw bottles. I distinctly recall the Guerlain's 70 ml bottles, 75 ml bottles were like $180 Canadian. um like and if you know right now, like they go about like $300 to $400 USD ship, which is, I don't know, it's about like somewhere between 450 and up of Canadian at the time. And I would look at those bottles and I was like, oh, those bottles, why do they look so strange and whatever? Like, so anyways, I got introduced like that to the perfume community in terms of like the Facebook groups. And from there, I understood that there were other, like, fragrances, the niche fragrances, and blah, blah, blah. And I had a colleague at work that we talked about those things. I ended up getting, um, I remember I bought my first niche fragrance ever was Xerjoff Renaissance. And um, uh, there's Xerjoff Renaissance and from Niche Essence in Toronto. And full price. I think I paid $300. I think it was like a $300 full price. I don't know what's the full price right now, and it's 100 ml. At Can you hear now? No? Okay, I may have to restart this. Sorry. All right, I'll have to probably restart this one. Okay, let's restart that. Oh, can you hear it? Oh, okay, awesome, awesome. All right, so we're back. Sorry, kids are calling me about their fishes, and I get when I get a call, it's like, oh, my fish is not moving, mom, and I'm like, okay, it will move. Anyhow, so what I was saying, yes. So I came across the Facebook groups, and I had a friend who would talk to me about like niche fragrances and stuff. So I started like seeing there and started like getting into the buy and sell and things like that. And then, like, to be honest, like when I started buying after that Xerjoff, like then I realized, like, I was talking to people in the groups, and they were like, why are you buying it like full price? Like, you know, there are discounters that you can buy it in the group and things like that. And then I ended up started buying and selling from there. Like a lot of fragrances, I've never known like what the retail prices is. So I no, Moose, please don't say that. Anywho, and at the time when I started, like shortly, like really when I got into the whole like buying and selling and stuff was close to like end of 2020, beginning of 2021, and it was so hot, the market, like everything would sell and like people would post stuff, and it would be like there would be people sitting and refreshing the Facebook group pages like every 3 seconds. I bet you, and I actually know that because one of my good friends ended up being one of those people from the fragrance group. They would just refresh the page every second, and like they would snatch the stuff in like that would come up, and things would sell like in 3 seconds. Like there would be fights over like who messaged first and whatever, and who like whatever, and there would be like such an admin drama about these things, and people were like really into buying a lot of stuff. And I remember posting stuff, and it would sell. Like I had to time. I learned my lesson. Like, you know, you couldn't like really post something for sale and then come back and check like in like 3 hours to see where things are, because by that time there would be 50 messages in your inbox. So, and the rule in that group was that the person who messages first and says interested, you gotta sell to him. It would become a nightmare to figure out like who actually messaged you first. So it really, I had to plan it where I was available for the next like an hour or two after posting, and I would sell out almost the same day or maybe the next day if it was like a huge post. And and anywho, it was it was it was a glory days, but also stressful, right? That you were looking for something and it would just be gone like in 3 seconds. If you had a job or anything that you like, when I went back to work, right? Like by like mid 20, nah, yeah, maybe in the second half of 2020, after mat leave, I like, you know, it's just there was no time, and by the time I would check things, and everything was sold out. At the time, also fragrance by like the fragrance net even and perfume online were there, and their prices were really kind of like usually would be like 40% off the retail, something around there, like sometimes even more. And it was, you know, it was an option, right? Like, and it was a viable option, and you could buy things from them. The point system was much better back then. Like you could get more for your points and whatever, and tiers and blah blah blah. And I remember they would stock fragrances like Guerlain's, like 75 mLs, like, and people would wake up, like, because I remember Fragby would stock some stuff like 6 o'clock in the morning, I think Eastern time, and people like would like had figured that out and would wake up at that time, try to snatch a few bottles of Bois d'Armenie at the 75 mLs on like at the time. And then something happened, and 2022 was also good. Like it was also a good year. I remember, like, you know, the sales were good, and everything sold, and I kind of transitioned, I think, from 2022. By the end of 2022, I had noticed that the sales are kind of slowing down in the Canadian groups. And I think this kind of downturn of economy hit Canada first before US, or maybe it's just because US is bigger. So I had shifted a lot of my sales to the US groups. And it was going well actually in the US groups. The sales was good, and like things were okay, relatively okay. And then came 2024. Let me see in here. 2020 to 2023 was crazy. Absolutely. I remember the pre-2020 market when you could get stuff for right. Eugene stole my internet. I don't know if he's been awake. I'm Mitra and the child. There's fragrance net was awesome in the 2010s. Right. You know, I've never checked those things. I know that people said there was no Tino back there, or like all the other ones. I don't know those websites. Even Fragrance X back then was great. Right. Isn't that like Fragrance Net? Fragrance X had like good stuff too. Like it wasn't. I don't know what happened with Fragrance X. Like is their prices are sometimes even more than retail, and I'm like, what's going on? Hi, Rich. Anywho, so that was my kind of experience. And 2024, like the sales drastically dropped. Like I remember like coming into like there's always a dry and lull period in kind of like the fragrance sales between like in January up to March, and that's generally a kind of a quiet time in fragrance market groups. But then it kind of went on and on and on and on. In 2024, like I was doing some decanting in 2023, but like I started doing decants, not most likely because the full bottles weren't selling at all. Yeah, a lot of discounters back then had nothing in stock. Now prices are the same as I know, and exactly that. So then you would, check, like they would restock, and 3 seconds later everything was gone from fragrance buy. Like there was no, the popular stuff was always gone. So like you had to be like, you have to be on alert when they were restocking things. Anywho, so 2024, it was like a downturn. I think it was pretty much like the COVID era ended, and like the economy had like all the things that people were subsidized and government whatever, and it just kind of fell into really a big lull, and it has gotten worse since, to me. Anyways, in the fragrance groups, there was a time in 2024 decants sold still, like the people were buying decants, and like 10 ml decant, sometimes 30 ml, 50 ml decants, and it was no problem. But it came like to 2025, and like by the second half of 2025, people were more looking for 2 ml decant, 3 ml decant versus like 10 ml decant, sometimes 1 ml decant, which is totally not cost effective for me. Like I'm going to spend that much time for pulling something for 1 ml. I'm not going to do it. Anywho, and pretty much it's like over the last year, over the second half of 2025 and moving forward in the groups, what I've seen is that like the mass amount of fragrances that you would never find, like people are selling their like the most unique fragrances that was out there. It was really hard to find, like I mean Iris Grange, another thing, but that's only comes to my mind. But there are a lot of rare and vintage fragrances that you would never ever find in the groups are all there. Like all of a sudden everyone is selling their most beloved perfumes at reasonable prices. There are some outliers that, I mean, delusional, but and it sits and it sits and it sits and it sits, and I'm like, how is this happening? Like this fragrance would be snatched in 3 seconds in 2020 at that price even, but it's not. Probably your currency is grant. You can't afford it, and most importantly, I don't own it. What are we talking about? Just sell me direct. Oh, okay. The problem is also that people were stuck at home and less expensive, so the prices were shot up. Yeah, I know. Now people don't have much money, but the price stayed high. Right. I mean, there was a lot of relief. Like there was a tax relief, there was a government kind of rebates and all those things. People had a little bit more money at the time and had nothing better to do. So we're spending a lot of money going to a restaurant or outings. You didn't commute much during COVID because you're sitting at home. You weren't spending money on gas. Like all of those things now started kind of coming out of the pocket. So I don't know where this is going, but it's quite discouraging. Like when you post a sale and crickets. Like yeah, good prices, good fragrances that would be like sold very quickly. So however, there's this dichotomy, and I see it in the media, which is kind of really interesting. And I asked ChatGPT some things, and I wanted to know. It's kind of like I'm not asking ChatGPT's opinion, but it's a point of discussion for us. I want to see what you guys think. So I asked ChatGPT: Are people buying less fragrances? And actually, what it says. People didn't pay for gas, no restaurant, no going out, no. Yeah, exactly. So what ChatGPT says, the global perfume market is steadily increasing, expected to reach 6 million to 60 to 65 billion. I think that's the number, and keep growing in the coming years. Now, I do not know when they say 60. So when like, to be honest, I'm not really an economist, and if someone is there, an economist can tell me. But when they're saying something market is steadily increasing and given a number, is that the amount of sale or the value of the stuff that's being put out every year? So I'm not sure what they mean by the global perfume market is steadily increasing. But anyway, I'm assuming that is probably, hold on, I'm assuming that should be really the global perfume market size was estimated 60 billion USD in 2025, projected to reach 96 billion by 2033, growing at 6.1% from 2026 to 2023 to 2033. Increasingly viewed as self-expression rather than a simple personal care. Blah 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 blah. That is interesting. And look, like, yeah, so they've put it. I don't know. I wish they had it from before. Oh, interesting. This website has like some perfume market analysis in here, and they have some. Hold on. Well, they have a bunch of graphs and stuff like that, and it says like giving the demographics, and it says user by gender is 71% consumer demographics for the perfume market. 71% is female and 29% male. Y'all are not using perfumes anymore, or what happened? User by age group is 18 to 34. So Gen Zs are like driving the market, seems like. And that has is it the most or? Okay, I don't understand this. No, the most is in the actually 35 to 54. And the least is 55 plus. Pain point of the consumers is high prices in premium fragrances, difficulty in scent selection without testing authenticity, and counterfeit concerns, longevity, performance inconsistencies, and limited transparency. Which brands are winning among consumers? Oh wait, like it says brand 1, 2, 3, 4, but it doesn't give me what it was. Okay. Okay, this is a very interesting website. I'm gonna share this in the comments later. The link to this, because this is very interesting. So it says the products by the percentage. So the majority of the product that's being sold and being used is the eau de parfum, and followed by eau de toilette, and then it is the eau de cologne, and then parfum and eau fraiche. What else is in here? Estimates and forecast. Okay. So the forecast is that more women are going to use fragrances by 2033, because in 2021 there was 28% of men were using perfumes on a regular basis. In 2025 is 21.8%, and seems like looking at the graph, that number is going to increase. And that number going to decrease by almost like 1/4. So I think it's going to be around 15%. I don't know where they're coming with this from. The majority of the perfumes that are being used are the mass market perfumes, and that makes sense, followed by the premium accessible prestige. I don't know how they kind of make a determination on those. And the markets by region, the market share of Europe is 35%. The other ones are blurred in this report, so I think you have to pay for this to see more. But it's very interesting. So the following companies have been profiled for this study on the perfume market: Avon, Chanel, Coty, LVMH, Estee Lauder, Revlon, Puig, I think, L'Oreal, Shiseido, Givaudan, Hermes, and Kering. So they have the majority of them in there. Anywho, interesting report. And that's where, for like a ChatGPT poll, it's kind of the market stuff. And it says that it's projected to drive a large share of beauty industry growth, and like 23%. Um, so what ChatGPT said when I asked if people are buying less, and he said no, but it feels like people are buying less because people are being more selective and not necessarily buying less. So the inflation has tightened the budgets, people hesitate more, they buy fewer bottles but think longer, choose more carefully. Which is weird because you think that still kind of would drive the yeah, it's like you'll see slower sell through on random releases, but strong hits still sell out. Okay, so the more popular ones sell out. The kind of like those little kind of brands that are lesser known aren't selling as much, I guess. Smarter spending behavior. So consumers now sample more, buy decants, wait for reviews. Yes, I'm doing all of that now myself. Like even though I'm like I wasn't really into the like I was too impatient for trying first and before getting it, which is a bad habit. But I'm doing that more. Like it says that, sample. I wait for the review. Like the same thing with Shalimar. Like Rose. If this was like 2021, I would have bought it anyways, just because. But now, like, oh, I'll just wait for it to try it and see what happens. Hi, Jonathan. How are you? Um, and then says price is real barrier. 32% of potential niche buyers cite cost as a limitation, obviously. Less impulsive blind buying between versus 2020 to 2022 TikTok era. There's another thing on comment on TikTok that they made. It doesn't count if you buy the bottle when the sample is okay, hi. Are you calling me out? Stop it. Shift towards premium and niche. You ended up keeping, didn't you end up keeping that Udan Santal because of that habit of mine, mister? Okay, relax. Shift toward premium and niche. Premium luxury fragrances are growing faster than the mass market. That's true. Some regions have even show luxury has increased, luxury is fragrance has increased, but overall market is decreased because the cheaper segment shrinks. Interesting. Feels like less buying, but actually more money per bottle people are spending. Okay, well I get that a little bit. Hi from KPC. People are buying differently, it says. Instead of one signature scent, they're buying scent wardrobe or layering trend. Oh, this is Rich's one of guys. If you need any tips on layering, how to layer fragrances, up to 5-6 fragrances, please visit Rich Mitch's channel. He's the expert and guru on layering fragrances and offers many combinations of different layering fragrances that are absolute delight. People are also buying more travel sites as body mist and oils. I mean, to be honest, I'm not going to blame. Some of these fragrances have the kind of, you know, like, I'm not a big performance bro, but like, dude, I'm not gonna like wear something that's gonna disappear in an hour, right? Like, that is way too low for this. Like, I'll buy body mist for that anyway. With this test, we realized that Ducky's probably has fallen asleep listening to me, because if not, he would have commented on layering. Layer Balenciaga Pour Homme with pure amberwoods to increase projection and longevity. Absolutely. You put that amberwood, a good dose of amberwood, amber fix, amber ultra extreme, and there plus like, what's his most hated for note? No, I can't even think. Is he not a Violet fan? I don't think he's a Violet fan. A giant dose of Violet, and you'll have his recommendations. Okay. Oversaturation and fatigue. Thousands of new perfumes launched yearly, and that is true. Like, and it just like they're not like there are new launches, but it's like I don't know if this is the side effects of having tried all the like a lot of fragrances, but a lot of them smell the same or remind me of something, or too close of a profile. I mean, I still believe somewhere in my irrational mind, I still believe that I need all Irish fragrances that exist. But like, come on already. Like, do we need all these fragrances that smell very much alike and maybe a little here and there difference. So it's really hard to pick. Gen Z changed the game. Younger buyers are actually fueling growth, especially in affordable and trendy scents. But they rotate fragrances, chase trends, avoid committing to full bottles. Commitments, commitment avoidance. Expectations are higher now. People want performance, longevity, projection. Yes, the performance bros. Uniqueness, storytelling, and identity. Yeah, I mean, I don't buy it, like the storytelling. I think I would actually, for me, it's easier to describe fragrances as an image, as a scene, than it is in notes, actually. Like this would give me this feel. Like, I mean, that's also part of synesthesia. If you're familiar with that, I think that is part of the synesthesia. And I would have loved that I was better at drawing because I could translate the perfume to a drawing, like based on what I'm thinking. But I'm not good at drawing. For those of you who have seen the picture of the astronaut I drew, yes, I'm great. But anyways, I copied pictures. But I feel like sometimes these briefs go too far, and like it's trying too hard, right? And you know that when you're reading. So I am not into that kind of storytelling, but maybe there are people who love that kind of storytelling, right? Creed, dedicated Viking church, absolutely. Affordable and trendy. I think they mean clones. Yes, pretty much. Bottom line, people are not buying less fragrance overall. They are more selective, price conscious, experience driven, and different formats. All right. The blunt truth is that it feels slower. It's usually because mediocre releases are getting filtered out faster, hype cycles are shorter, right? And that's, yeah, I know. Like there was like this I have noticed the hype cycles are shorter. Like there would be a time like that, like the hype for one fragrance would last like at least a year. But now you see like cycles are so short. Like thank you, Dushan. There's like 2 months and then gone, and 2 months and now they're gone, and 2 months and now they're gone. So the hype cycle is shorter, and kind of our shorter attention span, I feel like, is part of it as well. Then I asked ChatGPT, why do you think the sale of the fragrance has gone down in Facebook groups? Which, surprisingly, it has an opinion on that. Hi Juan, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while, Juan. Hope you're doing well. So, interestingly, it has some opinion on Facebook groups. It says, the market moved off Facebook. That breaks my heart, because I am a baby boomer. No, I'm not a baby boomer, but I think like Facebook has become a place for baby boomers, and I realize that. There was a time, there was like this Facebook was a huge thing. Like I was there since the beginning in 2007. Some of you weren't even born then, but yeah, it says the Facebook market has moved off Facebook. The volume didn't disappear; it sort of relocated. So it's a lot of buying on TikTok, Instagram, and live selling. And I've noticed that live selling with what is it called, that app, Whatnot or something. And but it's not. I'm not an auctioneer. Like I'm not gonna sell stuff like that. I'm not a. This is my problem. Like I don't. I've done I've done a sales job for Bell Canada actually when I moved here as an immigrant. Like I worked on the phone and like trying to sell products, and I hated that job. Like I'm trying to sell a granny of 85-year-old some internet service, like because my manager is just pointing it out to me, and I'm like, she doesn't need it. Like why am I selling this to you? But again, I'm not that kind of seller. Like I'm not gonna push it. Like I like not the non-city, but the distance that the post puts between like I post it. You look at it and you do your own research. If you like it, then contact me, right? Like I'm not gonna sell you something. Like I'm not that person. And then I mean, even then, like it gets a little bit complicated because people are like, "Why are you selling?" Oh, I'm selling. I always say I'm selling because I need money. Like, why else I'm selling? Selling. Oh, it's a shit fragrance. That's why I'm selling it. Anyway, I don't know why people do that. Oh, can you review this for me? No, I can't. Like, there's fragrance. Go for that. Anywho, But I feel like with TikTok or like live selling stuff, that just like that, it's like way too like pressure, and it's like I need to perform somehow, and I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a car salesperson or anything like that, so it's really hard for me to do that. Um, and the reason for that it says that's better buyer protection, and I feel like I don't know why would that be a better buyer protection if you're selling off Instagram or TikTok, but if you're live selling, there's generally a platform, so they would be um, it would be what do you call it? There would be like a what do you call? Oh my God. There would be like a refund policy and things like that. So like, and I think the examples that gives that is eBay, Depop, and Mercari, and there's a lot of eBay scams from the part of the buyers. I actually pisses me off. So I sold a brand new in-box bottle of authentic bottle of what was it? 250 ml bottle, brand new in box. It might have been Grand Ball. I don't know. One of those fragrances. And the fragrance goes, and a brand new in box. I have all the pictures. I have posted the. I was smart because I had a feeling. And I videoed packing that fragrance and took pictures before and after with the date shown. And then I sent it up, and the guy gets it, and immediately just applies for a refund because he says it's an open bottle, it's not brand new in box. And wants to return, and so pissed. And it was customs that opened the bottle. It's not my problem. Like the customs will open the bottle. That's not my problem as a seller. And the fragrance, the whole juice is there. And obviously he took some for himself. And he sends it back. And of course, like dealing with eBay, and eBay is like, oh, you have to issue the refund. Otherwise, blah, blah, blah. He can leave a negative, whatever. But when it comes back, if there's anything, then we'll kind of fix it out. So I had to send him a label. He sends it back. I only agreed to refund to 50% of it. I think they made me do that. And then eBay refunded the rest to me. So basically, I didn't lose anything, but it was such a hassle to go through, and it was this kind of a stupid process of like, dude, like you have the customs tape, and I couldn't make the fucking eBay person understand that. Look at the box. There's a tape around when the customs opens it that we've opened this box. I mean, they've opened the box, so obviously they're probably like. And they were actually very careful because they didn't like rip out everything and threw it in the box. Like there was just a very little kind of around the wrapping, the cellophane wrapping, so they could open it up and look into the bottom and put it back on. They were very careful with it. Anyways, beyond the post. The trust issues killed the momentum. That is absolutely true. The amount of scams and fakes. Oh my God, I cannot believe like the amount of scams and fakes that is in the market, and it's just increasing to the point I'm not buying any Louis Vuitton on offhands from people in the groups. People have started not only like there are fake bottles, they are genuine bottles but refilled with fake juice. There are people who show you the receipt from whatever they bought, but that receipt is not for the bottle that you have. There are so many fakes and stuff. There are like it's just really killed the market. This kind of like this fake stuff, and there are certain brands specifically now, but mostly I don't buy from anyone who I don't really know what they did before or where it came from. Like really, I don't anymore. I'm done like with that kind of thing, unless that I know someone who's like I know my Guerlain bottles, I know my like certain other bottles, but let's say I'm buying some like fragrance or amouage, I have no idea about the amouage, so it would be either I'm buying from Fragbuy or other places that I trust, or I'm buying from someone and then I'm showing it to people who know what the thing is, and I'm buying from trusted people because it's just really killed the market. More disputes, partial fills, reformulations, batch talks. Totally. Buyer became cautious, fewer impulse purchases. Yes, that's true. And then there's like, I also can't stand these people. Like, there are people, yes, there are lots of fakes and whatever, but if you are buying in these groups, like, they question every single thing and they're so paranoid about anything and they will not accept any sort of variation of small things that's not really indication for it being fake. I mean, dude, if you're that paranoid, don't buy in the Facebook groups. Like, they just buy from the retailer, pay the price. You can have the cake and eat it too. You can have it for a cheaper price, and 105% sure that's the thing. I rarely deal with a seller. I don't know. I haven't read. Yes, no longer. That time has gone. And talks about decant culture replace bottle flipping. People buy more of the decants and split between the friends. Yeah, flip bottles and trade blindly. Yeah, like, that's not happening anymore. Retail got more competitive. I don't know if retail got more competitive in terms of like the Frag Buy, Fragrance Net, or like Frag X, because they're not. But I have seen actually the Joma shop sometimes post stuff for insane pricing, like really, really low. Like, there was a time that, this is not even too long ago, they sold like the full bottle, 100 ml, their brand new in box Frederick Malls for like $160 USD, and I'm like, I buy that. Like, I mean, that's the price that you could get it in the groups, right? Like, I know if it's the brand new in box, I'll get that. Sometimes there are good deals like that in the discounters, and then people, that's usually the comparison, right? Like, so when you're selling in the fragrance groups, people go check like Joma Shop, and your price must be lower than that for it to make a sell. And sometimes it's harder to go under those kind of special pricing once in a while. I've gotten some fakes off eBay before. Sellers abuse the review system, but also buyers abuse their the full refund kind of policy stuff. It goes both ways really these days. Retail got more competitive. Okay. They offer near group pricing. That's what I said. Return and authenticity guaranteed, right? Like, whereas in the Facebook groups you have to go so many hoops to like return something and you don't even know you're gonna get your money back. But in these groups, in the Joma shop and stuff like that, you can return it. Buyers got smarter and slower, less blind buying, more review watching, more wait for the deal mentality. True. Oversupply in the secondary market, lots of collectors, downsizing. So that is part comes to like the discussion that occurred this morning. That's where that I was talking about. People are selling a lot of their collections, decluttering. I've seen, it's actually one particular person that oh my god, she puts out her stuff for sale, but and you can't compete with her prices because she bought those bottles like 30 years ago. Like, let's say they bought a bottle for $50, now of course with $300 in market, and she sells it for $200. Of course, she's still I don't know if she's still ahead if 20 years passed, but really hard to compete with those prices too. And decluttering, selling similar stuff, absolutely. Too many Aventus batches. Even ChatGPT knows. Blue fragrances and designer staples, not enough buyers at those prices. That is true. Algorithm killed visibility. The Facebook group posts don't reach all members anymore. Yes. And oh my god. And this was another thing. In 2025, beginning of 2025, I don't know what happened with these brands, but like Guerlain, Chanel, Dior, they somehow fragrance, like every post that you would have about these fragrances, if you mention the name of the brand, it would be taken down by Facebook, and you get a strike on your profile and on your group. So when they strike you on your profile, what happens is that your post gets less visibility. So a lot of us who sold a lot of these luxury designer fragrances, we got a bunch of strikes on our profiles, which, in my understanding, is not removable forever, pretty much. And our posts are less visible. People are not seeing our posts, and the algorithms are playing into this, so you don't get anything. Yeah, I mean, it's like for some groups it was Chanel, for some groups, for my groups, it was Guerlain. And for some groups was Dior. So I know that for a fact because I admin a few groups, and I talk to other admins as well. But yeah, for other groups was Chanel. So it is what it is. They get buried fast, rely on engagement to surface. Yes, and then there are like some groups that got so big, like the fragrance marketplace is now, I don't know, it's like 50,000 people, and like imagine the posts that coming through all the time, people posting multiple times during the day, and just the posts go so quickly. It's really hard to see what's going on. And some price, they, also like some price policing. There's a lot of rules and the debates and fights and the groups and trolling and bashing and drama and all sort of crap that goes in these groups that deterred people from buying stuff in these platforms. So the real takeaway, it says the Facebook groups are no longer the center of fragrance resale world. They're becoming slower, more saturated, less trusted. Social press platforms allow more discovery, and marketplaces equals like transactions. Right. So brutal truth is Facebook groups used to reward being early, checking the groups often, having access. Now market rewards attention, trust, and differentiation. Whatever that is. Right. So it gives an example. If you're just posting below the Chanel 90% full, $90, you are competing with the entire internet. Absolutely true. It's crazy. Yeah. So that and that's how this kind of summarized it. I don't think that there's anything more that I could say, like in terms of like this fragrance. Again, it's still puzzling for me. Still, for me, it doesn't jive with like the increase in the market. I don't see more people in fragrance stores. I don't feel like the retail sales have increased. I don't know if maybe I'm not watching TikTok enough. I don't know if people make more sales off TikTok and Instagram. I don't know. I feel like there's a difference in there. Or one theory I had was that as the economy gets worse, so what happens when economy gets worse is the very rich stay very rich, okay? And sometimes even richer. The poor stayed always poor and get poorer. They're like a lower middle class are like pulled towards poor, and the higher middle class struggles and limits their budget. So the higher middle class is like would be a non-rich person who would non-ultra rich person who would buy luxury items, right? So they are no longer by buying or being more considerate. Poor of the poor weren't buying much anyways, and lower middle class was struggling always, so they were limiting anyways. So that like a higher middle class is affected, but did the buying in the rich and ultra rich increase or compensates for that loss of the market from the higher middle class? Like that is my sometimes thinking. I think that is the only way I could consolidate increasing in the fragrance sales with what I see in the groups. Because realistically, if you're ultra rich and you're like whatever, you're not looking for a secondhand bottle of a fragrance in a fragrance group. Maybe you do, like if you're I don't know, but not a lot of them anyways. I don't see that. So maybe that's the case. And to be honest, over the last few years, I've seen this more of a like people of I'm the last person to talk about it, but a ridiculous amount of like that Chinese lady that has, I don't know, rooms and rooms and rooms and rooms. It's almost like a museum of fragrance stuff. Maybe that's a trend that's picked up, and the elite are spending more money on those, and like in some ways that compensates for like what higher middle class were spending, because when ultra rich is spending, probably they're spending $5, $6, $10,000 on stuff, versus higher middle class. Okay, you have like $200 bottles that you're going for. Maybe that's also a factor. Not 100% sure. Anywho, Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And that was basically my rant. Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for the little hiccups at the beginning. I don't know what happened. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, turn on the notification button. And if you're watching later, let me know what you think about this issue. If you have noticed any difference, if you think that the sales of the stuff is better in other platforms, let me know. I would appreciate some tips where to sell these bottles. Like, I have a bottle of Vetiver Guerlain, and Jonathan would vouch for this. I have a Vetiver Pour Elle from Guerlain. It's used to be one of the more sought after fragrances, and very rare that anyone would come across it, right? Like in the groups, in fact, I could not believe that I could find a bottle. I have that for sale, I kid you not, for a year, and I can't sell it. And it's like $100 less than what I paid for. So, anyways, it is what it is. What can I do? Have a great day. Can't believe you still have it. I know, right, Jonathan? That bottle is cursed. Anyways, but we'll see. Maybe I'll learn to like it. Anywho, have a great day, guys, and we shall see you later. Bye-bye.